Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're actually going to completely skip the standard agenda right now because we have such a fascinating journey to get into. Today, we're tracking the intense, demanding, but absolutely incredibly rewarding path of a commercial electrical apprentice. We're going to trace the exact steps from that overwhelming first day on the job all the way to the foundational milestones of your first year, pulling directly from industry codes, training manuals, and real-world licensing requirements. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to imagine stepping onto a massive commercial job site for the very first time. It's loud, it's super fast-paced, and it is completely unforgiving. You aren't just expected to show up, you're expected to be prepared, compliant, and totally ready for some intense physical and mental demands. So, what does it actually take to survive that crucial first month and set yourself up for a lifelong career? Let's find out.
Chapter 1. Gearing up for Day 1. Now, we all know starting a new career in the trades requires a pretty substantial initial investment in your own tools, which, let's be honest, can be a real financial hurdle. But to help ease that burden, students enrolled in recognized training programs are often eligible for a 25% student discount from major manufacturers like Ideal Industries. That is a massive help when you're trying to build out your kit with the professional-grade connectors, testers, and meters that you'll absolutely rely on to do your job safely every single day.
Beyond just buying tools, your first day essentials are incredibly strict. For your physical toolkit, you need high-quality hand tools. We're talking the absolute basics like Linesman pliers, wire strippers, a reliable voltage tester, and a super durable tape measure. But the requirements definitely go way beyond what's in your bag. You gotta be at least 18 with a high school diploma or GED, have a valid photo ID, and have reliable transportation to get to the site. You also have to be physically fit, meaning you can repeatedly lift 50 pounds, because hauling heavy spools of wire and steel conduit, yeah, that's your daily reality now. And finally, you have to pass a general aptitude test just to prove you have the foundational math and problem-solving skills for the trade.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, Safety Codes and Standards.
Look, before you are legally allowed to do any meaningful work on a commercial site, you've got to know the rules that keep you alive. You must complete OSHA curriculum-based safety training. The standards mandate a minimum of 10 to a maximum of 40 hours of this specific training for all apprentices, and this is entirely non-negotiable. It trains you to recognize site hazards, understand fall protection, and navigate the really complex safety environment of a commercial build.
So the crucial point is this. Your paperwork has to be just as flawless as your practical work. Using Colorado's strict regulations as our source example here, you must register online with the Department of Regulatory Agencies, or DORA. Once you're registered, you get a unique registration card that you literally must carry on your person at all times while working. And most importantly, as an apprentice, you must work strictly under the direct supervision of a licensed master or journeyman electrician. If you fail to register or try to work unsupervised, you can face severe disciplinary action before your career even gets off the ground. No cutting corners.
Chapter 3. Mastering Commercial Wiring Basics.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the immense contrast between residential and commercial work. In a typical house, you're usually pulling non-metallic sheathed cable, Romex, through wooden studs, terminating in plastic boxes, and dealing with 120 or 240 volts. But commercial systems, they are a completely different beast. You're dealing with much higher, deadlier voltages like 277 or 480 volts. Instead of Romex and wood, your first-month commercial tasks will involve routing heavy electrical metallic tubing, or EMT, and metal-clad MC cable. Everything has to be securely terminated inside mandatory heavy-duty steel junction boxes or welded enclosures, which are often installed inside steel framing, masonry, or right onto exposed concrete. It's just a completely different level of physical and technical demand.
And because those commercial conduit runs are so incredibly long, and the wire is just so heavy, manual wire pulling becomes slow, physically exhausting, and a major risk for fatigue and injury. That's exactly why the modern commercial apprentice has to learn to leverage tech multipliers, like automated wire pulling tools. These things are game changers. They mechanically guide and pull the wires through the conduit, they maintain consistent tension to prevent damaging the wire, and they drastically reduce the physical strain on the crew. It boosts productivity and safety all at the same time.
All right, Chapter 4. Specialized Gear for Theaters.
I want you to imagine stepping into spaces like theaters, digital domes, or planetariums. These places are absolute labyrinths of complex lighting grids and technical power systems. You aren't just hooking up a light bulb here. You're dealing with deep specialization in power quality, shielding, and accommodating the highly dynamic, nonlinear loads that stage lighting and massive laser projection systems require. It's wild stuff.
And because you have hundreds of audience members sitting in the dark, the safety regulations scale way up with the complexity. The National Electrical Code actually devotes an entire section to this, Article 520. It applies to any structure with a stage or audience seating. And the rules are super strict. If you use a non-metallic raceway, it has to be encased in at least 2 inches of solid concrete. Every fixed stage switchboard has to contain built-in overcurrent protection. And specialized stage lighting, like your footlights and border lights, they are strictly limited to circuits of 20 amps or less to prevent catastrophic overheating.
Now here's a highly specialized and kind of fun piece of gear for this specific environment. If you're doing maintenance in a planetarium or a digital theater during a live show, you obviously can't just click on a bright white flashlight, right? True theater and planetarium tech geeks swear by headlamps equipped with a flip-up red filter. The deep red light lets the electricians see their tools, find knobs, and safely navigate behind the scenes, all without the light spilling out and washing out the delicate immersive projections happening on the dome.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer level of electrical engineering happening behind the curtain. High-power projection systems draw massive amounts of power the millisecond they're turned on. That's called an inrush current. If you flip everything on all at once, the sheer draw will cause transient voltage sags or just instantly trip the main breakers. To solve this, you install automated sequencing switchboards. These highly specialized panels stagger the activation of high-power circuits at precise millisecond intervals, so it powers up the whole system in a controlled wave rather than a single system-crashing jolt.
Finally, Chapter 5, The Path to Licensure.
Because becoming a fully licensed electrician isn't just about on-the-job training, right? There is a massive academic component too. During the last 4 years of your apprenticeship, you are required to provide documented evidence of completing a minimum of 288 hours of formal, classroom-based electrical training. This is where you cover advanced math, electrical theory, code calculations, and blueprint reading.
Let's move to and see how this builds to the most staggering number of all, 8,000. That is the minimum number of hours of documented, supervised, practical field experience you have to complete to even be eligible to take the journeyman electrician's license examination. That equates to roughly 4 solid years of full-time work. It is a grueling, magnificent marathon that ensures when you finally hold that license in your hand, you are an absolute master of your craft.
So we've covered a lot today, from packing that rugged First-Day Toolkit with your Linesman pliers and voltage testers to navigating strict OSHA and DORA safety compliances. We looked at the massive jump from residential Romex to commercial EMT and steel enclosures, and even explored the highly specialized world of theater power systems. You know the mountain of 8,000 hours standing between day one and licensure. The entire blueprint is laid out right in front of you. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative question. You have the tools, you have the codes, and you have the hours ahead of you. Are you ready to pull the wire? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.